The content on this podcast reflects the anecdotal experience of the guest only and is not intended nor should be taken as medical claims or medical advice. This applies to every episode of the Kratom Science Podcast, Kratom Science Journal Club, and any of the pages on kratomscience.com. This is the Kratom Science Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Gallagher, blog and social media writer for kratomscience.com, your source for all things kratom. Since suffering injuries at a young age, my guest has lived with chronic back pain. Later, he was diagnosed with spondylosis, a degenerative spinal disease. After taking opioids in the past, he now uses several plants including kratom and its close relatives, mitragyna, hirsuta, and javanica. This is Brandon Belgard, and this is his kratom story. So, how you doing? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling better. Still out of it though. Just crazy nasty virus. You know, I mean, it's the talk of the town, right?
yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So my kids got it, and then I was around them, you know, all week. It was like day 8, and then I finally woke up in the middle of the night, just like, you know, sweating, fever, pretty out of it. So I think I just was around like a lot of it, and I got a pretty big hit on the viral load. So
yeah,
it got me.
That sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, but I'm feeling better, man. It's, you know, lots of vitamins, taking my kratom every day. That helps tremendously. Yeah, man, just like a lot of rest and time.
How is it helping you get through a bad virus?
Makes my body feel better, you know, like the aches and pains, which kratom is notorious for helping. Totally eases that. Helps my head get a little bit more clear because it's been really foggy, super foggy. So it just kind of picks my whole demeanor up and gives me a little bit of energy so I can actually get shit done around the house and not just be completely laid out. Yeah.
And there was actually a case report on a guy who had COVID, and it was early. It was like 2020 when it first started. I think it came out that fall or winter of 2020, and he just started taking it and it helped him. You know, he had aches and pains. He was all alone. I think he was a college student living in his own apartment. Of course, like right when COVID comes out, there's blogs that appear on that say kratom cures COVID, but that, you know,
right.
That's kind of like
I don't think it cures it, but no. I'll say this: aside from getting this right now, which it has to be Omicron, I haven't been sick in 5 years. And that's how long I've been taking kratom daily for. And so up until that point, recently, I would start to feel like I'm getting sick, but then like a day later, boom, like never happened.
So where are you from, and what do you do for work there?
I'm from Santa Cruz, California, and going on 5 years, I've been working to become a plumber. And so I've been pretty much full on plumbing status for the last 4 years.
You have like a lot of chronic pain issues. You sent me a message explaining your whole story there. Let's just go through that first. Like, when did you first start getting pain issues, and did it start with an injury or a couple injuries?
You know, I was a teenager, probably like 14, 15, and I noticed my neck was really starting to bug me a lot. And so I played high school football, stupidest thing I ever did in my life. You know, I mean, it was fun until time catches up with you and you feel all those injuries. Prior to football, I had been in a couple car wrecks and had a few other injuries that were like probably like definitely concussion type injuries. And so you're young, you don't like feel it right then and there. And then as the years go by, you're just like, oh, ouch. Okay. I can kind of trace it back to this string of injuries or accidents or whatever. And so for the longest time, I would, you know, ganja's been a huge part of my life, most of my life. And so I would consume a pretty fair amount of ganja, and that helped for a good number of years. And then it just got to the point where like I was pretty miserable no matter what I took. So I went to the doctor, always tried to avoid Western medicine, but it got to the point where I was pretty desperate. And so they put me on some painkillers. The Norcos, the high strength ones, the 10 milligrams. And so I was on that for like 2.5 years. And it was a really tough time. It definitely helped with my pain, but like really helped with my pain. But it also made me like kind of like a emotional roller coaster, and it was hard for me to kind of function with that medication. So at one point in time, they're like, "You're too young to be on this," and I'm like, "Either we're going to take you off," and I'm like, "Well, I'm going to stop taking it." So it's like, you know, I wanted the power to be in my hands, so I stopped. It was like uncomfortable for a few days, and you know, I never looked back from that pain medication. But years went by, and my pain was still there. I was trying to self-medicate as best I can with, you know, ganja and drinking. And then I got really depressed, got on antidepressants, anxiety meds, all this, you know, stemming from my chronic pain, which was diagnosed as spondylosis, which is a spinal degenerative disease.
Yeah.
And kind of like a general term for just really messed up spine. It's not probably around the time I was on the pain medication. I've always liked to read about plant medicines. And in one particular book, in the back of it, there was like the author's notes of like plants and substances that he was interested in looking into. And one of those was kratom. And I'm like, okay, that's on my list to look into. And it wasn't until probably 10 years later that I was working on a ganja farm. Big surprise.
Cool.
And one of my friends was like, "Hey, you know, talking about kratom." I'm like, "Hey, I know what that is," where I read about it. And he gave me some, and I think it was like white Thai. And literally 10, 15 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh, my back feels way better. My mood is like, I feel happy, and I have energy to like kind of bust out the workday." And I went home hours later, and I'm like, I still feel really good. This is pretty freaking miraculous. And then I went and sourced some myself at a local herb shop, and they had really great quality there. It's not like a head shop or anything where it's really sketchy most of the time. And so I started taking it every day. And within the first week of taking it daily, I'm like, I don't think I need my antidepressants. I feel so good, you know? And so I stopped that cold turkey, which I don't recommend anybody do. You know, it's definitely consult with your doctor, and you want to taper off any medication like that. But I just went for it, and it was a rough week. And then the following week, once I got over that, I'm like, I don't think I need my anxiety meds anymore. So I stopped that. And, you know, literally past 5 years, I've felt better than I have in probably close to 20 years. And I really owe it to kratom. It's something that really gave me my life back. And, you know, I'm like the poster child for it. I just believe in it so much because it's helped me tremendously.
We hear that from so many people. And how long have you been taking kratom?
About 5 years.
You said you tried to stay away from Western medicine. So what about that makes you want to avoid it and maybe embrace like plant medicine or Eastern medicine?
I just have a big distrust. You go into a doctor, they're not really treating you. They're trying to treat your symptoms, and which is, you know, nice and all, but everyone's different, and what they try to push on you medication wise ends up causing, you know, it might help with this symptom or that, but it also can like create all these other issues. Plus, like the toxicity of taking these things long periods of time I'm not into it. I believe the body's the temple, and, you want to treat that temple really well. And so just the whole approach of like, here, you come in with this problem, let me give you this pill, and you have a messed up back, maybe we should get you under the knife, and which I considered for a sec, but I'm happy I didn't go that route, hearing all the horror stories from so many other back surgeries. I don't know, they want to skip a lot of like very important steps, I think, into helping someone heal. And so I'm just pretty skeptical. I think emergency wise, critical wise, like, care, sure, Western medicine is the way to go. But leading up to that, and in most cases, when you're up in the thick of it, you can get yourself better, stronger, and heal yourself using these natural substances.
What you're diagnosed with is spondylosis. Is that what it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's what they said. Yeah.
Is that like a degenerative? You said it's the degenerative spinal disease. So, what exactly goes on?
Pretty much, it's the deterioration of like my spinal column. I have a bunch of bone spurs in a lot of my vertebrae, and a lot of inflammation because of it. And so your spine is your control panel, right? So if you got a few circuits in there that are smashed or like, agitated, it affects everything. So, walking around hurts. It used to hurt a lot more. Now because of Kratom, I can move really a lot more freely.
Yeah.
I can actually work every day, but the symptoms are neck and lower back pain. It's like in my hips too. It feels like twacked, man. I just feel lopsided, pretty much. That's the word. So lots of aches and pains there. It was brutal, and that's why I went to finally seek out some pain meds. Prior to that, I would always, like I said, opt for natural things like poppies here and there, and make some tea.
Yeah.
And that felt really good for me. First of all, because it really was effective. And second of all, because it didn't come out of a lab, and I didn't have a doctor, telling me how to treat myself. That was amazing. That I was good pretty much all day. Just felt like what pain, which is good and also not so good, because you don't feel that pain. You feel like you can do a lot more than you probably should be doing.
Yeah.
And so that can kind of come back and bite you in the ass a little bit.
You got Norcos, and it's hydrocodone and acetaminophen. Had you ever gotten to like problem with use with that? You said you were able to self-taper and get off it.
I guess I was taking between no less than 4 of those a day, but it got up to like maybe 8. Turned into most days it went up to 8 of those pills. 4 or 5 months into that regimen, I woke up one morning and I'm like, I'm not in pain this morning. I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. I don't think I need to take my pain meds. And then shortly after, I'm like, oh, actually, I think I do, because I was already dependent on them. And so it was just kind of like my whole nervous system kind of was saying, hey, man, you're forgetting something here. And so as soon as I took some more, I'm like, oh, there we go. I feel better. And I didn't taper off of them, actually. I just 2.5 years into it, I was kind of sick of being reliant on that. Even though it helped me, I didn't like the stigma. I didn't like just personally having to rely on them. They're a godsend. I don't judge anybody who takes them for, whatever reason they need to take them for, but that's where I was. And so once the doctor said, hey, you're too young to be on this, and I was pissed, and I'm like, well, actually, I'm done with them anyways. And so I just stopped, like cold turkey. And amazingly enough, like 3 days, feeling my pain come back, felt like an old man in my body. And 3-4 days later, I'm like, okay, this is like back to square one. I'm in pain, but I'm out of withdrawal. And yeah, I never went back to pills. But over the years, I would, make tea here and there, and that would help.
You're taking Kratom now, and so about how much Kratom do you take every day?
Originally, I was probably at about 5 or 6 grams, 2 to 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. And after a period of time, I realized I was getting diminishing return. So then I lowered it. And so now for the past year and a half, 2 years, I've been taking 4 grams about 4 to 5 times a day.
Now, do you take like tolerance breaks every once in a while? I think you mentioned that you did.
I've actually only taken like legitimately 2 breaks, and they really weren't very long, like maybe like 3 days top. So I was using akuamma seed during those times, and it like really helped with the pain. I mean, I felt low energy because I didn't have the kratom, but the pain part was pretty well taken care of from the akuamma, which, if folks don't know what that is, that's a seed from an African fruit. Mm-hmm. And to my knowledge, it kind of touches upon some of the same opiate receptors as kratom does, just not to the extent, and just kind of in a different way. There's other herbs I would take, not necessarily for tolerance breaks, but to stretch my doses out further from each other. So herbs like corydalis, incarvilea sinensis, which I believe both of these are Chinese herbs. Okay. And there's one that's really a fun one to say, if I can even say it right, chuchuhuasi. Out of all of those, like the incarvilea sinensis was like really good for pain, actually. Like, and the chuchuhuasi, however you pronounce it, actually gave me like a little mood boost and energy and helped with pain. So I was like, oh, that's kind of like kratom, but not quite as strong as kratom.
You don't really smoke ganja anymore. You just take CBD with a little bit of that for sleep.
Yeah. So it's funny. When I got off my medications, the antidepressants and anxiety meds, I because of the kratom was helping me so much. I also took a 3-year break from smoking any cannabis. So, and then the past couple of years, I started introducing CBD flower back into my regimen. And then a little bit later, I started adding little bits of cannabis to that. And having like pretty much no tolerance like I used to have, it's just a little bit with that CBD is more than enough for me, and it helps a lot, especially with kratom. Like CBD and kratom and cannabis, they're like marriage made in heaven, really good.
And you also mentioned strains of mitragyna, and it's Hersuda and Javanica. So I've seen a little bit about those, but I really haven't studied them that much. And so how do they work?
They're like cousins to kratom, right? Mm-hmm. They're in the Speciosa family. And so with hirsuta, and keep in mind, like, not just like kratom, not all, you're not going to get the same quality time and time again, but the source I get mine from has amazing hirsuta, and it pretty much feels like a stimulating white variety of kratom. It kind of like really picks you up, gives you clear-headed energy, and just kind of it's a great daytime, extra thing to add to my kratom. One thing I will do is sometimes I'll take half of my kratom dose, and so which would be 2 grams, and then I'll take the other half as hirsuta, another 2 grams, and that'll like totally carry me through for 4 to 5 hours. And so it's kind of like lowering my kratom tolerance while also still like maintaining the drive to work and tend to what needs to be tended to. So that's with hirsuta. Really beautiful stuff. And then there's however you pronounce it, Javanica is how I always have it in my head. And so that feels more geared towards evening, and it's more of a relaxing leaf. So again, these are cousins of kratom. They don't have any mitragyny in it, no 7-hydroxy, any of that. But it does have mitraphyline, I believe. Definitely in Hersuta's case. I'm not so sure about Javanica. But with Javanica, you're, in the evening time, maybe you've taken your allotted amount of kratom for the day. You don't want to start ruining your tolerance, but you want to ease down into the evening. Again, you can take like half your dose of kratom, or half kratom, half Javanica, or you can just totally take Javanica and it like mellows you out tremendously and gets your eyes heavy, and you're ready to hit the sack pretty quick afterwards.
You did have withdrawals from the Norcos, is that right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had kratom withdrawals, and are they similar to like a Norco withdrawal?
Yeah, hard to say like tit for tat, but and especially since when I swapped out my meds, like a direct swap out of meds for kratom, I take it like on the dot, like every 4 hours at the soonest, but sometimes 5 or 6. So if I wait long enough and I haven't taken it, I'll start to feel tired and my back will start to hurt. Like the signs of my condition will start to kind of rear its ugly head a little bit at me. And it's like, oh, I haven't taken my kratom. So, it's a combination of, for sure, I'm dependent. Like my body's completely adjusted to this herb, and it's definitely feeling like, oh, I haven't had this, as soon as I should. And also, so that would be withdrawal, I guess, and some initial withdrawal symptoms. I can see what the kratom is actually helping me with much more clear once I'm not taking it as soon as I should. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, kind of a long way of saying, yeah, I've experienced a little bit of that, but I never kind of went completely abstinent to see the full-on effects of withdrawal with kratom. But I've heard it can vary, from person to person, and how much they consume and your body chemistry and, everything under the sun affecting it. Since I have no plan on stopping anytime soon, it's helped me so much. I'm a lifer for sure. I'm not really worried about it.
Do you have a favorite way of preparing kratom?
Yeah, I guess originally I did like the water, mix it with water, and it's kind of gritty, earthy gnarliness. And then I graduated to pre-mixing my doses in grapefruit juice. So I'd have like 3 or 4 containers. I'd mix up the night before work, and then take one in the morning, and then I'd bring the others with me. And for about a year and a half or so, I've been taking it sublingually. So just as it sounds, I'll put the powder under my tongue, and kind of sometimes I'll take a little sip of water. Sometimes I'll just let my own saliva kind of do the saturation, and I'll let it kind of hang out in there. And like my friend says, make mud. So I'll make mud with the kratom in my mouth for like a few minutes, and then I'll take some water, swish it around, and down the hatch. And so if you think about it, like traditionally, right? Some of the traditional use, they'll just pluck a leaf or two, chew it, and spit it out, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same concept, except I'm keeping it in there longer and I'm not spitting it out.
Yeah, and it really works too, because I haven't done it with powder yet, so that makes sense that you could do it like that. But I did it with fresh leaves, and we chewed it on the podcast here, and it actually does work. I mean, with just one leaf gives you a little bit of the effects, like not strong or anything, but you can see why. You can see how like a guy that's a farm laborer or something in Thailand would be plucking that off the tree all day and
absolutely
chewing on it. Definitely.
Yeah. I love that episode, by the way, with Soren on there. So I'm also a moderator on a Kratom forum, and so I also get to meet all sorts of different vendors that way. I love Kratom.
I love Kratom.
I love Kratom.
Yeah. Let's
Kratom.
we can plug that. I love Kratom, because I've never heard of that. I love Kratom.com.
Definitely a great resource for folks who are like, wanting to know about Kratom, how to use it, some surrounding, just everything surrounding it, how to source some good trusted companies, and it's like a supportive community there, just one part of the greater Kratom community.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely I'll put a link up. Do you ever get any side effects with Kratom?
Originally, like in the beginning, I did experience some slowed, digestion. That was pretty short-lived, and I realized quickly that drinking, I needed to drink a lot more water, and eating more like leafy greens and salads, that really helped too. The motto is like, get hydrated, stay hydrated, drink more water, and drink some more water. So true with Kratom. And as long as you can keep your hydration up, if you're going to be taking it throughout the day, definitely want to keep your water handy. I like to throw electrolytes in my water, and that really helps me stay hydrated. But aside from the slowed digestion, some rough moments in the office filing some paperwork, I experienced maybe a couple headaches throughout the years, and after I drank a couple glasses of water, it pretty much went away pretty fast. So those are the only two side effects that jump out at me. The biggest side effect is just I feel like my former self before I had chronic pain, and like I love that one, man. Like it's I like to say it's not a miracle cure and it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close.
That's cool.
Pretty damn close.
Do you have like a regular, like a primary care physician that you can talk to about Kratom or not?
No. I pretty much bailed out on the Western, medicine scene after my prescription experience, and just it was a major turnoff the way they dealt with it. And this was like right around when the whole opiate crisis thing was blowing up, and like, doctors, they're just people and they're scared, and they get the trickle down effect, and and that comes down to the patients too, which I've also seen some of those episodes of yours where you guys discuss about that problem of under prescribing, and where does that leave people? It's like the worst spot ever, I imagine. And so thank God for Kratom, because that's like, not only is it very effective for most people, it's significantly friendlier, at least for me and a lot of people I know. You're able to be present with your family. You might have you get that little buzzy, happy mood lift from Kratom, but you're not like high per se. But yeah, there's some good buzz that can go with it. Those are the nice ones. But you're functioning. You're clear-headed, you're functioning, and I can't say the same for pain meds.
A lot of people say you can take what you need and manage it on your own rather than having to go somewhere and piss testing and being treated like a criminal and being in a pain management contract. Have you ever done anything like that, like pain management contract, where you could be fired from it?
No. They wanted, I went to the pain management clinic, and, they wanted to put me on gabapentin. They wanted to put me on methadone. And I'm just like, nope, ain't happening. I'm not going to start taking more medications when the ones I'm already on are like, barely cutting it. I don't need more issues. But no, I haven't had to deal with that. Never signed a contract. Never had to do the whole thing. But how liberating for sure to be able to manage your own issues, because you know best. It's your body.
Yeah.
A doctor can only speculate and say what they say based on their own circumstances or what they're allowed to say and do. And you're allowed to, with Kratom, you can take it when you need it. And definitely a big believer in the less is more with Kratom.
Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, there's the agonists and antagonists, alkaloids that are within it. So past a certain point, it's like you can keep taking more, but you're not getting better results. You're actually getting diminished results, and you actually just feel yucky. I've never actually gotten sick from taking too much. I have like an iron gut, I guess my lady will say. I find that less is definitely more. You want to find that sweet spot and stick with it. Some days will differ. You're going to need to maybe take it 3 hours later after your last dose, or instead of 4 hours. But for the most part, if you can find that lowest amount that gives you the relief you're looking for and stick to it, that's like long-term success in my book.
You talked about psychedelics, mescaline and mushrooms. What does that do for you? Not
so much in the past handful of years, but we'll just start with mescaline. So there's different cactuses that grow around here. They're like pretty much in almost every other yard I drive down, and I'm like, whoa, do they know what they have growing in there? And it's always been something that I was drawn to at like a young age. I just started reading about psychedelics when I was like 12 or 13. I'm from Santa Cruz, go figure. But, peyote and just mescaline in particular just like jumped out at me, and was always drawn to it. And then finally had the chance to take some tea out of this cactus called Peruvian torch. So the effects are dose dependent. Smaller doses, it's like this very clear, happy, pain-reducing experience. It's kind of like a 8 or 9 hour orgasm. It's amazing. You feel really happy. You're just like, everything's beautiful.
I didn't know it was that good.
It's pretty freaking good, man. Pretty good. So you just feel amazing, and it helps recalibrate like just where you are in life and like where you are in, spiritually and psychologically.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, show me what I need to see, and, help me be stronger, help me feel better, and help me be a better family man, and I'd always go into those experiences with those intentions. And I must say, like, I've tried many, many different plant medicines, and one of the times I drank this cactus, like I've never been so saturated in I'll say the spirit realm, like just so, saturated, man. Powerful. That I would say that was like a shamanic dose, or as what's his name would say, what's his name, man? The heroic dosage, McKenna.
Yeah.
McKenna.
But so what about the shrooms? How do they differ? Let's talk about that.
There's like a classic common thread between most psychedelics and plant medicines, but they all have their kind of like little signature effects.
Yeah.
Really hard for me to compare, but the mescaline feels like I can walk into a courtroom and win a court case on it. And mushrooms are more like, let me go get lost in the woods and find myself, I don't know, maybe a little bit more busyness going on with mushrooms, and it kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit harder for me to connect and sort through some of the stuff while on mushrooms. But that's probably the best comparison. You take enough of one or the other to make it like a comparable dose. They're very similar. visually, but maybe like the color tones are a bit different. With mescaline, it's like really warm and soft, and mushrooms just seems like a little bit more action going on visually.
What do you think of like psychedelics with a sort of like psychologist, like a kind of like a healing thing that they're doing now? I mean, like psychedelic futures are being traded on Wall Street. It's on the Today Show, and it's going to be like, you can go to a doctor, take shrooms for 4 hours, and I don't know why anybody would want to be in a this is the last place I want to be in with shrooms.
No
I mean, if
doubt.
they did house calls, maybe he could come over for an hour and give me some psychology. So what do you think of that? That's like kind of almost like westernizing the experience, I think.
Well, it's definitely, it's pretty far out, man. Like it's not what I would instinctually want to do, but I think it's great to have that option. I mean, for a lot of people who've like never experienced a psychedelic trip and have like maybe apprehension about it, maybe they feel more comfortable in that, clinical doctor environment. I would definitely be a bit uncomfortable in that environment. I think it's a great option to have, and I think it's in the step in the right direction. It's legitimizing what a lot of us have known for a long time, the benefits of these plant medicines or compounds. For me, sure, let's go for a walk in the meadow, in the woods. Let's go on a hike, and the psychologist can like walk with me. That would be my cup of tea. Like, I want to be out in nature. 10 out of 10 times I want to be out in nature. That's the best place for me to take those sorts of things. And I don't know, I think it's really cool. It's kind of sketchy, the monetization of it all. I mean, I know businesses, to make it move forward, got to make money, got to keep the wheel turning. I just hope the best interest is kept at heart of like, this is a healing thing. Money, sure, it's necessary, but let's just make sure we don't lose the side of like what's truly important, and that's the medicine, and that's giving it to the people who need it or are seeking it out. And who's to say what? Well, I have a better reason to take it than you because of all my problems. Like, whatever your reason is, whatever your issue is, I'm cool with it. Like, take it. Take it, and if you're happy to be in a clinical setting, by all means do it, but put me out in the forest, and that's where I'm happiest on those.
Yeah, really. On the same token, like with Kratom, they are doing drug development down at the University of Florida, and I think it's going to be they're going to produce some really good painkillers. But do you have any trepidation about that? To me, I'm like it's important to advocate for access to the plant and home grow, even which I think should be a thing, just so we can have access to it, and there's not a middleman. I mean, not that you can grow enough kratom in a lot of regions of the country to supply yourself, but I think just in general. But do you have any thoughts about that?
If you can grow it, by all means grow it. I have a couple plants myself. I have 2 seedlings I got, and
that's right,
cutting, and they're they survived the winter here in Santa Cruz. I brought them inside on the coldest nights, but they're doing pretty good. It's one of those things. It's a tropical plant, right? So like you said, there's not many places in the States where you can just kind of have a full-on grow outside, maybe with some greenhouse support, like Soren and Sam.
Yeah, they're in West Virginia.
Right. So if they can do it there, but of course they have the infrastructure, right? They set it up. But if you're able to have a little, closet grow of some kratom plants, by all means,
But in terms of like, because a lot of people get worried about if they develop into a drug, then it's just going to be controlled by like Western medicine, for example, and we won't be able to access the plant anymore. Do you have any concerns about that?
Yeah, that would be the worst case scenario, I think. Like, sure, you want to develop these great medicines from this natural plant, like, go for it, man. Just keep the option open for those who want to take the full-on natural product, because I'm pretty sure you know, Brian, and a lot of us know who take this plant, it's everything inside of it that, all the alkaloids inside that are working with each other and regulating the other one and doing whatever magic it does, all combined. Like, it's nature got it right, And so I don't mind or have any judgments on drug development out of it, with the exception of as long as the natural form of it doesn't get messed with. Sure, you want to go the pharmaceutical route and get these great medicines derived from this plant, go for it. But for those who want to, compared to cannabis, right? They have those synthetic THC and all these other things, and you can go to the pot shop and get CBG and CBD and all these other various cannabinoids separated. But then again, you get the whole flower, and it's all of those things interacting with each other is what gives you the big therapeutic effect, in my opinion. I just want to give big thanks to you. I actually look forward to your podcast. Every Thursday is when I expect to see you for a new episode. And, I think you're doing great work, and you have awesome guests on, and I think is very informative and super beneficial for anyone interested in learning about this awesome herb called Kratom.
Thank you, Brandon Belgard. He was suffering with COVID during that interview, so we hope he gets well soon. The forum he moderates is ilovecratom.com. There's a link in the description. So far, we don't advertise, we don't ask for donations, but we do ask for your support. Please share this podcast on your social media. Like, subscribe, rate, review wherever you listen. The music is Risey. The song is Memories of Thailand. The Kratom Science Podcast is written and produced by me, Brian Gallagher, for KratomScience.com. Take care.